the field, effective field goal percentage, almost 55%, and he's a tough defender. This is what goes not talked about when you talk about the Mavs. They might not have the most firepower, but they're actually a very underrated team defensively. I like the versatility of Dorian Finney-Smith. I like what you get from Kleba and guys like that, Dwight Powell. If the Mavs can at least bring in another guy who can create his own shot, even if they bring in a 3-and-D guy, an athletic wing who can give you 15 points a game and guard multiple people, that would give the Mavs a little bit more flexibility in their roster. That would take some pressure off of Luka. That would take some pressure off of Jalen Brunson. The West is crazy for a reason, but when you really look at it, there are 3 teams that are fully loaded, and I've already talked about them: the Warriors, the Grizz, and of course the Suns. And then the rest of the teams, there are a lot of great individual talents. Obviously, with Portland now, it's just Dame, and Dame's not even healthy. With the Mavs, it's Luka. With the Nuggets, it's the Joker. And then you have the biggest soap opera in the NBA. It's better than General Hospital. It's better than Grey's Anatomy. It's my Lakers. The Lakers lost last night to the defending champs in a game that for most of the game, it was a blowout. To their credit, the Lakers made a run. They cut it to 10. They made it interesting, and then the Bucks woke up and closed the game out. The Lakers, even though they're ranked in the middle of the pack defensively, are not a good defensive team. They just aren't. They're 26-29, and yes, AD is capable of being one of the better defenders in the NBA. LeBron, at age 37, can guard at a high level in spurts, but he's not a reliable defender night in and night out, and nor should he be in his 19th season, especially when he's doing what he does for them offensively: 29 points a game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 52% from the field, 35 from 3, effective field goal range, or percentage, of almost 60%. I like what Malik Monk has done. It seems like as the season has gone on, he has found his way. And Malik Monk coming out didn't really have much of a game off the bounce. He's gotten so much better. You can tell he's been in the lab. He's put in the work. He has the ability not just to catch and shoot, but he can also break guys down and attack the basket. You've got LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I would make the case you have more than the Joker has in terms of star power. He doesn't have a second star, nor does Luka. And they're finding a way to win. They do have better role players. Nobody would debate that. And I know much of the talk when you talk about the Lakers will go back to Russell Westbrook. So imagine this. Take away the last name Westbrook, throw in Johnson, or throw in Thomas, and say this guy averages 18 points a game, just under 8 rebounds and 8 assists a game, over a steal a game. He shoots 43% from the field, not much from 3, just under 30%. But he's giving me 18, 8, and 8, basically. And he's the reason we're not very good. So let's clear 2 things up. Russ is struggling. Nobody can debate that. He has not played well consistently throughout the season, but he is not the reason the Lakers are a bad team. They are a bad team because they are a bad defensive team. And it starts with LeBron. And even when they had AD before he went out of the lineup before, they weren't very good defensively. He wasn't himself very good defensively. Malik Monk is 23 years old. I just gave him all the credit in the world for what he's evolved into offensively, but he's not a good defender. Same for Taylor Horton Tucker, who's 21. Avery Bradley has been a solid defender throughout his career, but he is a 6'2" guy that oftentimes is being asked to guard guys 6'6" and 6'8", and eventually the reality just sinks in. He's not big enough. This roster, yes, it's flawed in the sense that it is heavy with veterans, and we're talking about veterans with guys that are 33 and older on this roster. And anybody that says that it was a tough fit to try to make Westbrook work with LeBron and AD. No argument there. No debate there. But who didn't know that those pieces didn't fit to begin with? When I heard of the trade, I didn't understand it. I really didn't. And I wanted somebody to make sense of it. Not because I have anything against Russ. I simply didn't understand how a ball-dominant point guard could play with LeBron James, who's ball-dominant, who always has the ball in his hands. You can list LeBron as small forward, and people go, well, he's playing point guard this year. Newsflash, I've said this before because it is a factual statement. LeBron has always played point guard his entire career. If you're a point guard on LeBron James' team, you're just really a two guard. That's a fact. The problem with that is Russ is not a shooter. He's never been a shooter. So when LeBron sends Russ to the left or right corner, of course the defense are going to clog and they're going to lock in on him because they want you to swing the ball to Russ. And the natural basketball play is to swing to the open man. What Russ needs to adjust to, instead of just catching the ball and chucking up a three, catch the ball and attack the basket, man. Like, what you've always been about your entire career is being aggressive, of attacking the basket. Russ has never been a great shooter, but he's never been afraid to take shots. This current version of Russell Westbrook, he's afraid to take shots. And I know a lot of us have seen the post-game interviews, and Russ sounds like Russ. He says, I wanted to be there for my teammates and help them win. What he sounds like and what he's looked like over the last few games, he looks like a guy who has no confidence. And that's weird to say when you're talking about somebody that averages 18, 8, and 8. But this might be the worst stretch of basketball his entire career. Never mind the turnovers. He was always a high turnover guy. The frustration comes when some of the turnovers, they just make no sense at all. I'm not one of these people that want to bang on Russ. I'd rather go this route. Just as an NBA fan, never mind being a Laker fan, but just as an NBA fan, at some point, yes, you have to accept the fact you are not the man. On this particular team, you're not the first or second option. And with the way Monk has played, it seems to me you should be the fourth option. And there's nothing wrong with that. On this team, if you wanted to help it make an actual deep playoff run, I think Russ have to accept the fact you can be the fourth option. You can average 16 points a game and still get 6 or 7 assists and 6 or 7 rebounds, and you can be a more efficient player. There is a role for Russell Westbrook on the Lakers. The problem with Russ is he doesn't seem interested in embracing that role. So, to all the people that say Russ is washed, I disagree with that. I think he's washed if he can't embrace the reality of where he's at in his career right now and his value to a basketball team right now at age 32, 33. Now, I digress. I got into the whole Laker thing, but that's me, the Laker fan. Me, Mo, talking about the NBA Cypher and about trade deadlines. The Lakers clearly want to be a buyer. They want to be a seller because there's no secret they'd like to move Russ. I don't think it's possible for them to get up off that contract. And if you can't move him, what moves can you make? I think their only options are to make fringe moves. Maybe they can swing a deal for a 3-and-D guy. Maybe they can just get somebody who can get buckets like a Terrence Ross from Orlando or something like that. This, to me, when you look at the Lakers going forward, unless Rob Pelinka can pull a rabbit out of his hat, or if they just do something really dynamic and say, you know what, we'll buy Russ out and go forward without him, this roster, this is the roster they're going to have going forward. And normally, I'm the guy that says no matter where they're sitting, with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, you're talking about 2 top 10 players, at one time 2 top 5 players. There's no reason that even with Russell Westbrook's struggle, this team should be sub 500. So I'm going to say the Lakers have a puncher's chance to get into the playoffs. But I don't believe the Lakers, as they're currently constructed, are going to go on a deep playoff run. If they get into the playoffs, I think they're going to be one and done. On the next Cypher, we're going to talk NBA buyout market, and let's get into the MVP discussion a little bit further. Thanks for listening in on this episode. It's the NBA Cypher. Next time.